Hello, my name is Daniel Seringer, and today I will be covering the Nuremberg Laws. The first question that should be asked about the Nuremberg Laws is, what were the actual laws passed? The first law that was passed was the Reich Citizenship Law. The second law that was passed was the Law for the Protection of German Blood and German Honor. The Reich Citizenship Law entailed that only racially pure Germans would be allowed to hold German citizenship. The law also defined a citizen as an individual who is of German or related blood. The second law, being the Law for Protection of German Blood and German Honor, was a law created to protect against race mixing or race defilement. This law banned future intermarriages and sexual relations between Jews and people of German or related blood. The Nazis viewed these relationships as unacceptable because they created mixed race children. The second question that should be asked is, who enacted the Nuremberg Laws? Both laws, being the Reich Citizenship Law and the Law for the Protection of German Blood and German Honor, were both enacted by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime on September 15th, 1945. The third question that should be asked is, why had Hitler and the Nazis enacted the Nuremberg Laws in the first place? While this question might seem obvious, I believe it is important to properly explain the enactment of these laws. Since the beginning of the Nazi regime, the Nazis' ideology has always been the same in regards to Jews and other undesirables. When the Nazis gained control of Germany and the government, Hitler and the Nazis wanted to put their racial ideas into actual laws. They wanted all of their beliefs on Jews and others to be legal, and the Nazis believed that full Germans were the Aryan race, meaning that they were perfect and above every other race. The Nazis also believed that Jews did not belong in the so-called Aryan race and that they were part of a separate, inferior race. The Nazis felt so strongly about the Jews and themselves that they separated themselves physically and legally. The fourth question that should be asked is, according to the Nazis and the Nuremberg Laws, who was considered Jewish? According to the Nuremberg Laws, a person with 3 to 4 Jewish grandparents was considered to be Jewish. What this means is that if your father's parents are Jewish and one of your mother's parents is Jewish, you would be considered Jewish in the eyes of the Nazis. A grandparent was considered to be Jewish if they belonged to the Jewish religious community. This means that if, rather than basing the qualifications of being Jewish on racial components, the Nazis defined Jews by what religion an individual practiced. The Nazi regime had required individuals to prove their grandparents' racial identities in a multitude of ways. One way to prove a grandparent's racial identity was through the use of religious records. These religious records included baptism records, Jewish community records, and the fifth question that should be asked is, who did the Nuremberg Laws apply to? While it is common knowledge that the main targets of the laws was the Jewish community, there were many different groups that were targeted alongside Jews. The list included people of color, gypsies, homosexuals, and the physically and mentally handicapped. The sixth question that should be asked is, what were the results of the Nuremberg Laws? I believe that it's safe to say that the lives of countless individuals were changed for as a result of the laws being passed. As a result of these laws being passed, the affected groups were viewed as outcasts and of being a separate race that was less than perfect. They were barred from being citizens and from having relationships with full-blooded Germans. And worst of all, these laws paved the way for the Holocaust and a series of horrible events. Millions of Jews and other groups were horrifically treated and subjected to torture, which led to very painful deaths. The seventh and final question that should be asked is, what do the Nuremberg Laws have to do with justice? While this question might seem tough to answer, this question has a very simple answer. The Nazis wanted to legally separate Jewish people and other specific groups from themselves. And while these actions and the creation of these horrible and racist laws were legal at the time, they are in no way, shape, or form morally justifiable. The sole purpose of laws are to make sure every individual is equal and has the same opportunities. I believe it is safe to say that these laws did neither. The Nazis manipulated the law to fit their beliefs and corrupted the legal system as a result. The behavior of the Nazis in creating these laws is certifiably unjust and truly despicable. The kind of laws have to no room in this world. Laws should be enacted if and only if they are morally just and serve the purpose of helping people rather than creating and enacting laws that spread hate and destruction. Here are some examples of other laws that were created during the time of the Nazis and of the Nuremberg Laws. If you are interested to learn more, please check out the Holocaust Memorial Museum, where you can learn more about the Nazis and the horrific crimes.